Recording. Super. Hi, it's Sarah Viscarando with the After School Enrichment Accelerator and mascot Olive. And I'm very excited to talk to Andy Ziker today of Bucketeers. Hi, Andy.
Hi, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. I've wanted to talk to you specifically. You and I met when we were both at a preschool right before COVID. And I thought that your model was the most ingenious I'd seen in a long time. Can you talk about Bucketeers and what you do?
Sure. Well, thank you for the kind words. Bucketeers uses 5-gallon buckets, one bucket being the seat and the other the drum. And I've come up with a system where I apply color color duct tape to make the drum color coded, so I can better communicate the parts of the bucket and how to make the bucket as musical as possible. It's very similar. It's a similar experience to playing a drum set, and we play along with music of several genres: children's music, rock, pop, jazz, classical. We also get up off the buckets and do movement activities. I'm not much of a dancer, so I've coined it drumming with your feet so that nobody accuses me of dancing. Um, and that's really it. We've expanded from I was the only teacher at the time that I met you, and now we have like I think 7 or 8 teachers and have expanded to several schools,
Oh
which
my goodness, I had no idea that you'd grown like that. So
yeah.
the first thing I want to know is where the idea for bucket drumming came from. I personally have a great fondness anytime I see something that looks like it came out of thin air. And that really like it looks so logical when you see it, but I personally could never have come up with it. So where'd the idea start?
That's a long story. I've been a drum set player, professional drum set player since I was a teenager, and then became a drum teacher almost immediately. I had a very inspiring drum teacher named Billy Sticks Nix, and he hired me to be his substitute. And through that process, and then eventually learning about drum set notation, which is just basically music notation, rhythmic notation, I noticed this must have been about 10, 15 years ago. I observed that the Rock Band video game used colored notation, but instead of it going left to right, as you might see, I'll show you. I don't know how well you can see this. Can you see that? Anyway, I don't know if you can, but most of the time, drum set notation is kind of looks like piano notation. It goes from left to right.
Mhm.
The Rock Band video game notation came at you at a different angle, but used colors, which I thought was clever. And so I wrote an article at that time where I basically took I made the note heads of the rhythmic notation colored, and I used the Rock Band video game colors and applied those to that system. So then I ended up writing a book called Drum Set for Preschoolers. That was, I think, the only book that uses color-coded notation for drum set notation. One of the reasons that I know it may be one of the only ones is because it's very expensive to produce. It was
Mm.
hard to get it published because the publishers were scoffing at the fact that, oh, what are you doing here? We can't have anything color, then every page is going to be a lot more expensive. So
Right.
there was a publisher in LA named Tribe Publishing, which comes out of the Hollywood professional drum shop, and they were willing to publish it, and the book
How
still exists
neat.
today. So then I started using that notation to teach children. This is in Chandler, Arizona. I taught drum set to preschoolers using that book and that system. So then fast forward to my wife and I moved out to the Bay Area. She got a job at I'm blanking on the name. She got a job out here. I'll think of it in a second. And I also then followed her soon after that and became associate editor at Drum Magazine. And that job was a great job. I learned a lot about writing, which I've been able to apply to this job. But after about 5 or 6 months, the writing was on the wall, and the publishing industry started kind of going downhill very rapidly. And
Right.
I was the newest hire, and so I was the first one to go. That business ended up, Drum Magazine went out of business soon after that, or they were bought out by another company, and now it's just an online resource. So I was thinking to myself, geez, what do I do now? Because I had, learned so much about writing. Should I become a editor somewhere else, or what should I do? And I thought back to what I was doing before when I lived in Arizona, teaching lessons, and I was teaching the group classes to preschoolers, actually I also taught group drum set to elementary students. And the idea of group lessons appealed to me because it's able to provide more instruction at one time than just teaching one person at a time, which I've been doing, as I said before, since I was 15. That's what this setup is for, because I teach children virtually. I still do that to this day. But anyway, I thought to myself, what am I going to do? That's when I thought of bucket drumming. I didn't come up with the idea of using bucket drumming for music instruction. What I did think of is using the color coding and applying that so I could communicate better to young children. I think I'm not sure bucket drumming had been used very much at that time for preschoolers and you know kindergarteners, that age of children. So that's kind of, I think, what I brought to the table, and it's worked out really well. The system allows not only myself to communicate with the kids, but um, they understand about colors at that age, and so it gives them
Right.
a confidence to then go forward with the instruction. And then I've been able to also train other teachers in this method of teaching music. So sorry about that long
No, it was
answer, but
great.
it's,
And I want to ask too, how did you come to preschoolers? Because generally when people start teaching, they avoid the younger ages.
yeah, I've always been pretty good with kids, and I'd had experience teaching young children private lessons and then eventually group lessons. But um, I was going to target Bucketeers for elementary school, but then I visited One World Montessori, and the head of One World Montessori, blanking on her name right now. I think it's Rebecca.
Hmm.
A meeting with Rebecca, and she said, I think that this concept might work well with preschoolers. I said, all right, um, let's go for it. So that was really about it. It was I wasn't sure what age to target. The very first school that we brought Bucketeers to was in my neighborhood. It was called Achiever Christian Academy. It's on top of a hill very close to where my wife and I live, and that was elementary school. And then next we started targeting preschool, and then from there it was we got involved with MSOSV,
Hmm.
Montessori School of Silicon Valley, and other preschools, and now it's kind of become broader where it's not only not mostly preschool, but it's sort of half elementary school, half preschool. So it turned out that I think my intuition was right originally, that it does work for elementary students, and it works really well up to a certain age. It's hard to talk older elementary students and middle school students into something like Bucketeers, because I think they think of it as
Younger.
a younger instrument, or it's something that's not they're not as interested in. They want to play guitar or drum set, and I can't really blame them, but it's kind of funny to think about it, because bucket drumming is the history of bucket drumming goes back to adults playing you know um, on street corners, and earning money uh, by doing that. So
Busking, like the found
busking, that's the word I was
instruments.
like, yeah, with busking. And then
Yeah.
it became popularized by Broadway shows like Stomp, but that doesn't involve children at all. So um,
No, but like the way that it translates into a gateway drug is really valuable because it very sounds like It's not just this is how to get you interested in banging on things, or this is how to get you interested in having a rhythm.
Hmm.
Finding one and maintaining it is hard enough for that age group. But also, your color coding system sounds like these are the building blocks to how you can use the next tool. And so I understand older children kind of being like, because I don't want a
Yeah.
building block. I want to go straight to the thing. I don't want to learn clarinet. I want to play saxophone.
Yeah, it's kind of like the recorder. You learn recorder maybe in second or third grade, and then it just vanishes as a possible instrument
Right.
in the future. But it's
Right.
actually pretty fun to play. I actually played recorder one time in high school for a English report that I had to do on the, I think it was the Renaissance, and a friend of mine dressed up in tight
Garb.
garb, including tights, and we wore the
Nice.
tights all day
I mean, why would
in
you
high
take them
school.
off if they're there?
I know exactly. So
So I want to hear now, did you have time teaching in a classroom before you did this?
I did. I taught fourth grade for 5.5 years, and then a whole nother year I taught, believe it or not, middle school science. It was middle school science at an arts charter school. It's called Arizona School for the Arts in Phoenix, Arizona. And the elementary school, the fourth grade, it was just straight fourth grade, not music, that I taught was in Chandler, Arizona. So yeah, that provided me, and learning how to become a teacher, that whole process. I didn't originally go to school for an education degree. I had a fine arts and music degree from Arizona State University, but then I went back to school and got a bachelor. What's it called? I'm blanking on
Bachelor's is undergrad, master's is
post back. Excuse me. I was just
post
forgetting.
bac.
Yeah, I got a post back in elementary education, and then a master's degree in elementary education. So, but not early childhood. I think I've learned a lot about early childhood with on-the-job training. It would be the
Right.
best way to describe it. But my ECE credit is lacking, which has, caused me problems
Really?
later in life. Yep,
That's right. If you don't have your EC units when you're in the classroom, you can get cited, and that's problematic.
it can
Messy.
be.
They won't want you back. Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, no, you've entrenched yourself in there. Yeah. So you didn't go from teaching to Bucketeers, right? It sounds like you were juggling your world of drumming and your sort of day job teaching. Does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always been a teacher and a drummer since I was about 15, and juggling both of those things. My from a family of teachers. My mom was a uh, high school and college math teacher, and she's a mathematician. And my grandmother, the same side of the family, she was an English teacher. I think I know. I'm sorry. I think she may have taught second grade and English. I have to go back and look. But anyway, it was
No
always
worries.
something that maybe just came naturally to me. I don't know if
Right.
it's a genetic predisposition to be a teacher
Isn't
or
that
what.
funny?
But
Like exposure, right?
yeah, I've always had a lot of patience. Sometimes we may talk about this later, but sometimes my patience runs thin with running a business. But
Mm.
up until that point, I've been able to. I think, my dad has an incredible amount of patience, so I think maybe I got that from him.
So you just brought up the business, and I wanted to ask, when you began it, you had already been, I mean, in my imagination, when you're teaching drumming in Arizona or anywhere else, it's you and your customer, right? It's not you as an employee, but maybe,
Um, well, I was an independent contractor for kind of like a music academy in Mesa, Arizona. It's called Linton Milano Music. It's a incredibly strong a place to learn any instrument. And what's great about that place, it's connected to a music store called Milano's Music, and they even have like a piano store across the street. It's just oh, and they also have sheet music. So when I got into writing drum books, I think I've written now 13 or 14 drum books over the years,
wow.
and so they could actually sell the books there in their store. So it was a uh, one-stop shop for anything music, and they had it's an area in Arizona where there's a lot of customers. I always like joke it's kind of like the Milano's was the McDonald's of music because I could teach as many students as I wanted to every week. I think I had around 50 students a week at one point, and then on top of that, I played. This is when I was younger. I don't think I could pull this off now.
I know the energy already. It sounds a
Oh my
lot.
God, I'm getting exhausted just talking about it. But I used to play music gigs, corporate gigs, weddings, bar mitzvahs, things like that, where back in the day there was so many of those gigs and so many drum students, I could have done it like 24 hours a day almost. Um, I also got in, I like being creative, so I was in an original rock band called Jed's a Millionaire for a long time, and that was really fun. It didn't amount to, it was financially not a good situation, but it was very creative.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was
why
also
you teach on the side.
Yeah, and I was also a jazz drummer on top of that. So I played a lot of jazz gigs, and jazz gigs go from being making almost no money to making a lot of money. So it kind of varies, but that's also very creative. So yeah, I was a busy person. You get There's a lot of loading drums in your car, going to a venue, uh, unloading them, playing the gig, loading them back up. Just it's like being a musician and a mover, sort of.
Well, you are your own roadie, right?
Yeah,
At that level,
unfortunately.
it's a lot of
Yeah.
work.
Well,
So when you transition to doing this business, but you are no longer teaching in a classroom, right? You moved here
mhm.
and then you started Bucketeers?
Yeah, I was out of a job. I got laid off from being a editor of a magazine, and
Right.
uh, and so you know, I went back to teaching drum lessons, which here in the Bay Area is a little trickier, I think, because it's harder to get around, and so parents
Mm,
are um, they want to provide lessons for their children, but it's a struggle to get them from point A to point B. So
mm,
it doesn't work quite the way it did in Arizona in terms of, I don't, it would be very difficult to earn a living. I know it's possible, but to earn a living just teaching private lessons. And that's
mm.
that's kind of why I started thinking about group lessons, and you can't really do that with drum set. Talk about a load in, trying to load in 5 drum sets or 10 drum sets or something is just,
Yeah.
it's impossible. So the buckets are great because I've got pretty long arms and I can carry a pretty big pile of them. I had just one funny thing about that. A teacher who I hired named Ashwin, and he is a very athletic person, and he had this technique where he carried buckets like this, and up to like I think 18 to 20 buckets, he would just walk around like this, down the sidewalk. It was just unbelievable, but probably not safe. That's why it's good to have the liability insurance.
So I talk about that in my digital course, by the way,
Okay,
both the
great.
EC units and the liability
Yep.
insurance. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
So when did you start hiring? Because that is a huge like jump. Anybody who has what qualifies as a micro business is looking for the moment when they can leap into, scaling, as they say. Tell me about it.
Yep. I wasn't thinking about it too much. I was busy, had a full schedule and everything, but a teacher reached out to me in Texas, believe it or not. This is kind of a roundabout way to expand, but the teacher was teaching at a satellite school that had just opened up that is connected to MSOSV. It's a
Yeah.
Montessori school, Silicon Valley school in Texas called Cantera, and she was an assistant teacher there, basically. I don't know the exact title, but she was a musician and had heard about Bucketeers and reached out to me asking, can she teach Bucketeers at Cantera? The MSOSV administration is so nice, and
Mm.
we worked out a way that we could make that work. And it currently she's not I have one employee still in Texas right now. It's not Marissa any longer. It's a teacher named Kieran, but I've kept that going. It's one thing that I learned in the expansion, it's the kind of the wider your net, the more difficult it is in several
Mm,
ways. It's much easier to be sort of on the ground near where all the activity is going on. Texas is much further away than it's probably reasonable, and that's why I think the franchise model exists, which is something that I've thought about, but have had second thoughts about it. Basically, I'm kind of wary about going in that direction. But anyway, so it's I through the sort of test case of Marissa at Cantera in Texas, in the Austin, Texas area, I discovered that I could pull this off. I kind of was the doubt that I had in my mind is Bucketeers as a concept, is it something that is transferable to other teachers,
right.
or is it a concept that's good but had was kind of ingrained in the way I do it, my personality, my teaching
Yeah.
style, because I had so much
The
experience.
the expression for that I've heard is um uh ex, ex oh shoot, I just lost it. Execution dependent.
Okay, wow, I like that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It sticks, right?
Yeah. Well, anyway, so I what I discovered is that it is possible for another teacher to do it. It's not execution dependent. Did I
Right.
use that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And so then I basically through word of mouth, schools started contacting me. They started reaching out to me. I also, once I started hiring teachers, I started reaching out to schools too, which never
Mm,
seems to work very well.
mm,
Um, Most people, I think what happens is schools get inundated with people trying to sell them things,
mm,
and they take it as almost like an attack, a selling
mm.
attack versus that. No, I just really like to provide this service for your school, kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
um, but it's I think mostly grown through word of mouth. I think what happens is a student, let's say, is at a school um, that I'm teaching at, and then they leave that school, go to another school, and they reach out to me. Geez, we really miss having Bucketeers. Can you bring it to our school? And then I kind of gets the ball rolling in that
Right.
way. So I think that's been the most common way that it's expanded. I teach right now at an elementary school called Fairwood Explorer in Sunnyvale on Fridays, and one of my former preschoolers goes to school there, and
Exactly.
that's why I teach there. So
I was
it's
gonna say that like growing with your audience is a big organic, comfortable stretch.
right, but it's been a challenge. I didn't go to school as a business person, and I'm
Mm,
learning that stuff all the time. My wife she's my partner in the business. The business is called Ziker Enterprises LLC, and it combines the Bucketeers part of it, and then she does educational research and evaluation
mm,
work as a consultant for that part of the business. So it's nice to have another person to run all these things by. It's the complex. That's one of the reasons why I'm not sure about franchising Bucketeers, is that what I found is that it's incredibly difficult
mm,
to pull it off. And you know, I know people, but my wife has asked me, "Aren't you afraid that people are going to steal your concept and open up, bucket this or bucket that?" And
mm,
I maybe was a little concerned at first because there's a video resource on YouTube where you can kind of see, um, if you look closely enough, you see me providing sort of tutorials on how to do this. But I'm not as concerned about it as the years go by, because I think it's very, very challenging. And
mm,
if anyone wants to try to do it, then they probably will. But um, I'm not saying they can't pull it off, but I have to use every single one of the skills I've developed over the years, writing, um, now all these business concepts, the teaching, learning how to teach, how to train teachers.
right.
Um, it is just and all the financial stuff, payroll. it is, it's pretty
It's a
amazing.
lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. No, I hear that. Like if I used to hear that as well when I would interview people. I'd let people come into my class and I'd have them because I was advised to sign one of those do not disclose agreements where they're
Hmm.
not allowed to talk about this afterwards. And in the first place, I don't know that anyone really understands, even as clearly as they might be worded, what those documents are about. Like, what is it here I'm not allowed to talk about? You know,
Yep.
like they're looking at the secret sauce and they're still not identifying that that's what it is. But boy, I mean, teaching them to do what you do, there's a lot in that, a
Yeah.
tremendous amount in that. Like one of the things that makes enrichment providing such a unique thing is that it's a circumstance that is so comprehensively yours and also yours. Like it's your responsibility and it's also all of your liberties and all of your ideas and all of your creativity and your responsibility, but all of these other very like florid fun things.
Exactly.
So another person to do it, like it's an act of trust and a lot of training.
A lot of training. Yeah. The training has become, it has expanded my concept of that. I not only I
Mm,
have a training document called Best Practices that I've developed over the years. That part of it has come from what I've learned from teachers that I would have
mm.
never expected, both good and bad things, challenges, and the teachers have taught me a lot, both good and bad things. I guess is another way of saying it. And then besides besides that, I have the teachers come in for training one on one and also shadow me or another teacher
Mm.
several
Good
times.
call.
So that and it's costly because I pay the teachers for the training.
No, you're investing in them.
Yep. So
Does your
it's
contract also have something in there about like you got to be with me for a number of months because I'm putting a lot in you?
yeah, I have them sign a contract for a 6 month commitment,
Nice. Very
and
smart.
I don't know if like they could always just opt out, I guess, of the, of the contract, but I
Mm.
try. And I do have them sign an NDA. Um, so yeah, I have all those things in place. I have been hiring people through Indeed.
Mm.
That seems to work the best to find people that I think that's might be the ultimate challenge right there. That one aspect is that I'm looking for teachers who are um, musicians, hopefully drummers or percussionists,
Hmm.
people who have experience working with children in groups. Uh, so if you put it through all those filters, then you almost have no one left. There are none of those people out there, so there's very few. I mean, and my teachers have been great, but the other challenging part of this is that this is it's a really good part-time job because you can make pretty good money in a short amount of time, and the scheduling is flexible.
Right.
But uh, because it's a part-time job, they then and if at any time might feel like having a full-time job, which
Right.
I cannot provide them. And then they move on to it. I had a teacher. He was a Brazilian percussionist, a female, and she was very popular and as a Bucketeers teacher. And then she just moved to a full-time job. So it's I've had teachers move away because it's so expensive to live here. I feel like I'm whining a lot. Sorry about
No,
that.
I don't know. I had I started my business because I was a freeway flyer ballet teacher. So I would go to the school and, go to the ballet studio or the academy or wherever was having me and like fly from school to school. And I was hourly. It was terrible. And when I finally got a situation that was kind of sturdy, it gave me these, like the part-time one that you're describing, it is sturdy. It
Hmm.
is not as much as you want. It is not all the hours that you want, but it's sturdy. And that's pretty special in the arts.
Yeah.
So I'd have these huge blocks of time that were very inconvenient for me. And that's how I started my business. I figured that I could do this thing that wasn't anybody and nobody was giving me the job.
Hmm.
I would go hang my shingle and I would find places that would allow me to teach in these blocks of times that I knew were empty, that I knew I couldn't get another situation.
Right.
So, I mean, it started like patchwork and now it isn't patchwork. But that's, I don't know. I'm really thrilled to hear first like your arc and then your continued involvement in the arts. I think that's we lose this. We go, oh, so hard. Oh, let's move on.
Yeah.
And we just need more models. Like we need more examples of people that continue.
Yeah, always been important to me. I'm not from a family of musicians.
Me either. No
So
dancers in my family.
in fact, I won't say who, but uh, I remember one of my relatives saying something like, when are you gonna, move past this drumming thing?
Right?
I'm like, well, I don't think I'm gonna be. I'm 57. I wasn't. I don't think I was 57 then, but still, I was probably 40 when they said that. So, it's. I think it's surprised a lot of people, and it's probably the amount of success I've had with Bucketeers has surprised people in my
Yeah, well, you're
family.
inventing a whole thing. It's really inspiring, Andy. It's so cool.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. Did I answer all your? Are there any more questions? I think we might have ventured
No, we have
off on a tangent.
everything. We have everything we need and more, but please let this not be the only time I chat with you because I am so happy to see you. It's been years, too long.
I know it's nice catching up with you.
Well, I'm going to say goodbye on the video, but
Oh,
stay
can I
right
say
there.
bye to Olive?
Oh yeah, you know what? She stayed here. This is very rare. She
Okay.
stayed on my lap the whole time. She must really like your voice. Usually she just mills around and kind of grumpuses,
Uh-huh.
but she really like her little ears were active this whole time.
Olive. Olive. Okay, great.
Do you hear it? You don't, your ear didn't do the tweaking thing. She's just
Yeah.
yawning now. You've calmed her. She's a very nervous animal. I love
Well,
her so. Okay.
well,
So
that was fun, Sarah. Thank you.
thank you so much. Andy, stay right there and I'll come back with another video as soon as possible.
Okay.
Let's see here.